there's no way. Say it ain't so. Windbreaker. There's no freaking way. You just made me a Kame supporter. You cannot with a straight face tell me that he's actually a character I feel bad for. I never thought Choji was a great guy. I thought the kid had a lot of screws loose. But he corrupted our boy. This man, he would have fit right in with Sakura's gang. He loved the friendship. He loved the dynamic. He loved a place to fit in. And because when Choji reached the top, this psychopath's brain was like, I'm bored. I'm not free. Let's make everyone strong. So if anyone's weak, I'll rip their jackets off and I'll be a douchebag. Because Kami loved and supported this guy so much, he took on the sins for him. I will shed their skins. You remain as clean as possible. Now, I'm not saying Kame is without his faults. Post that moment, he clearly became a douchebag. But the catalyst, the thing that started this, was because we didn't put the psychopath in a padded room in a straitjacket with therapy. How did this happen? I wanted to see this man's face get beat in, and now I want to see this man somehow win. And there's actually people who say Windbreaker is mid. Get out of here. Full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full length of thought to any of these Windbreaker episodes. It's going to be over there if you're interested exclusively. You can't even pick a favorite episode in this arc. They are refusing to rush through this, and the fights don't feel dragged out. The fights feel perfect. I really thought we were going to finish the fight this episode, but I'm legit speechless. The fight immediately was different. This dude's a grappler. He's fast, he's precise, but he hits like a goddamn isekai truck. But Sakura, you know, he got hit quite a few times, but he also was hitting back quite a few times. As I said last week, there's a big difference between hand-to-hand, just raw, real fights, and fights with swords, guns, magic. The Flash can still be impressive, but it's a very big difference when you have a pure, like, oh my god, Cloverworks cooked. You know, like, you keep up with the punches, you keep up with the kicks. The biggest thing is the animation keeps up with whoever did the fighting choreography for the show. There's a lot of anime fights that you can tell are just done by people who can animate well, but don't understand fights. That it's not their, you know, they don't study up on it, and they try to imagine what a cool, like, okay, that manga panel looks cool, so I'll just kind of add some little bits here, and it's all done. I'm convinced Windbreaker has, like, some professional martial artists, like, in their team, because, like, this is the type of stuff that feels well refined. And all that's well and good. It was a crazy fight. I do question how Sakura doesn't have a broken nose, a few broken ribs, but even if maybe the lack of broken body parts is a little questionable in my mind, the thing that really sells it is the impact of all the attacks. So there's parts where, like, he'll get kicked in the chest and his VA visibly gasps, like he loses his voice. There's so many times where characters get impaled and you're like, oh, it actually feels like they're getting impaled. I do legitimately question how people aren't dead or have their face broken with some of these attacks. But at the very least, their actual body does respond like they got hit as hard as it's being implied. But as good as the fight was, the backstory is the best part of this episode. And what do I say often in this channel? If you follow the channel long enough and you watch enough videos that I do on shows where they have action, I say it's all well and good to have a fight that looks good, but if there's not a reason to care about it, then it's pointless. You might as well just go watch AMVs on YouTube. And I cared about this fight. I cared about it walking in because I thought it was such, you know, we walked in thinking, like, he was told, don't rip the jacket off this dude because you don't know how the fight's gonna go. Do you want to lose your jacket, right? So the idea, there was already story at play. But then when you start realizing what his, like, this, like, initially, I'm just thinking, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm like, what corrupted this man? Why in God's name is this happy-go-lucky guy gonna turn? I thought it would be because of power. He was gonna chase power. And it was the farthest thing from the truth. That gang was literally very similar to our current group. I don't see any difference. But as soon as he reached the top, because there's something wrong with Choji. Like, mentally, like, I honestly, unironically am saying this. He is mentally insane and unstable. The kid needs to be locked in a padded room with a therapist to diagnose whatever the hell's wrong with him. Like, the way that he was, like, just so lifeless after reaching the top. And how you have a friend just wanting to support him. And when he sees someone he respects so much go to such a dark side in his life, he says, no, I support and respect you so much that if this is what has to be done, I will do it for you, but you don't rip their coat. It's just, it sounds silly, but in execution, it's such a powerful moment. And I think that's why the initial timeout when he goes down to talk to the two goons. Now, the guy from last week didn't deserve to have his jacket taken. The other two, I think so, because this whole exchange happened because they were picking on someone, and he's basically like, you guys are absolute idiots, you're doorknobs, and rips her jacket off after beating them and saying, okay, now that that's taken care of, let's get back to business. I don't know who's winning. In a weird way, I'm actually rooting for Sakura to lose. Kind of feel dirty saying that, but I honestly am. I don't know, like, if Kame loses and gets to keep his jacket, it could be a turning point for their gang. It really could be. But if Kame wins, he could still have a turning point in his character with that whole song. Brandon EXE has stopped responding here. This was insane. And I mean, not to mention the freaking music. I don't know if the full OST has been released just yet, but I need to hear that. I'm not sure how much I'm going to rate it, but actually I think it is my favorite. My favorite OST is the Megalobox OST, and there's something about the vibe of the music in this show that is giving me some similar, like, oh my god, this shit's getting me as intense as some of the Megalobox fights, man. Like, I think this is a banger of an OST, and I think if you actually listen to all the songs that they produced for the show in full, I think a lot of people are going to put this OST in one of their top lists of the year, if I'm being honest. But I am so glad they didn't rush through the fights. I'm so glad they didn't cram 3 fights per episode. Like, the fact that this fight carried into next week makes sense, because even if it's only 2 minutes of next episode, it's just like they don't rush things, and they let you sit on what you've experienced for 7 days in an appropriate way. Beautiful episode. Can't believe I said what I said. But I said it, bitch. Let me know what you thought down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you know if I went up a little more. Like I mentioned, got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alrighty, so today we have Wen2X, Drift, Andrew Hogman, Jesse Wright, Peacock, and Mick Pie. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.